on the northern side of Sveti Clement, and walk along the pretty island paths with their garnishing of tropical vegetation. Vis, known in ancient times as Isa, island of mysteries, fishermen, of things that stay the way they were, the Falkuşa of Komiža, the vernacular Bugava and traditional gastronomic pearls like pasta fajol with bruyette, is a truly remarkable landfall that inspires a primary awe. Vis goes back to the Neolithic period, and it has been lived in and ruled by the Greeks and Romans, the Illyrians, the Venetians, the English and the Habsburgs. All the winds round the island are strong, and in winter you'll have to beware in particular of the sirocco and the southwesterlies. Nevertheless, Vis is still a favourite port of call. We are coming in from the northeast and sailing into capacious Vis port. The first thing to greet us in the bay is the Czech villa, then the English fort, and after that a picturesque peninsula with the church and the monastery of St. Jerome. In Vis, a considerable number of fixed anchorage points have been put in the harbour for sailors, and there are electricity and water hookups. While if the Bora or Sirocco are blowing with any strength, it's possible to anchor in Stonca Bay. In Vis, it's a good idea to visit the attractive eastern settlement of Kut and try out pasta with lobster in the Vatrica Tavern, or perhaps tuna in white wine in the Poyoda restaurant. If we sail from the port of Vis eastwards, after 2 miles we'll be greeted by the lighthouse on Stončica Point and directed towards the bay of the same name, that because of its unabashed loveliness we've put in the high-flying society of Dream Point destinations. Stončica is well out of the way of the winds, has a sandy bottom and 5 or 6 metres of water for anchoring, and after a swim and generally wallowing in luxury, you can't beat dropping in at the idyllic tropical tavern called Stončica, in which the enterprising Lincia brothers make terrific brodette and lamb specialities, using ingredients that they catch, rear and grow themselves. Moving on, we'll soon be on the southeastern side of Vis, where our attention will be drawn by a group of little islands. The first of them, named Budikovats, is a nice anchorage and a still nicer bathing place. Off the second, Ravnik, you drop anchor and row in the dinghy through the attractive green grotto. Close by is the best haven on the way to Komiža, Rukavats harbour. Going on westwards to Komiža, one certainly has to stop off at the next Dream Point destination, the Mala Travna Bay. Although there's but a single buoy to tie up at, and though the southern winds can ruffle the beauty of a stay, you just have to visit Mala Travna for the clarity of its sea, the old houses, and the informal home of organic traditional food that's to be tried on the terrace of Senko Koruza, poet, philosopher, and master of cuisine. Try out Senko's herb brandy, his organic Plavats wine, goat cheese and salted anchovies, or his fish soup and brodette with pasta fajol. The next cove, Stiniva, is not out of the way of the winds either, but once again it's well worth a visit, being uniquely original and unspoiled. Here we are now in legendary fisherman's Komiža, where you can tie up stern first to the quay, anchoring not being such a good idea because of the many ground cables. In Komiža you should first take in the distinctive feel of the place. View the monastery, chat with the locals, see the legendary Falkuşa and drop into the fishing museum with the world's biggest collection of knots. For the inner man, we can recommend the Bako Tavern. Where you can try the salted pogača and all kinds of other seafood delicacies, some of which come to the table straight from the pool. If we sail out of Komiža Viswards, on the north side of the island, Okľučina Bay is available to us, and right next to it an anchorage in the 3-inlet bay called Gradac. While just before Vis itself you might well want to visit Rogačić harbour, Anchor and take a swim in the eastern part, where an island drawn in on the chart has gradually become part of the land. If you sail as far as Vis, it's certainly worth visiting neighbouring Bishovo and the famed Blue Cave that can be reached by dinghy, as long as you leave someone on board ship in Balloon Bay. The Blue Cave, formed by wave action on the limestone, is best visited at noon, when everything around you is really blue. On the open western side of the island is the ideal anchorage of Bishovo Port, with a wonderful sandy beach and tasteful restaurants in season. For the more intrepid mariner, we can recommend a sail around the southwest point called Gatula, and then a trip to discover the strange Puchinski Isles.